Welcome to Build Up, European Commission's portal for energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. Directly stemming from the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, Build Up is a place for everyone involved in making the European building and construction sector more energy efficient. Every month we focus on a topic that is key to making Europe's buildings as energy efficient as possible. Exploring that, you can find the latest content such as expert talks, webinars, case studies and more. From architects and engineers to academics and policy makers, we've got you covered. Build Up brings together thousands of registered members to reap the benefit of Europe's collective intelligence on all aspects of energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. The Build Up portal benefits from the expertise of our ambassadors. Drawn from industry and academia, the ambassadors bridge the gap between EU and national level and help shape our editorial content. Want to promote your work? Build Up disseminates your research, projects and events through a variety of channels. Become a member to exchange knowledge with your peers. You can disseminate tools and resources, share good practices, and consult open source publications. Join the discussion on social media and become part of the Build Up community, or subscribe to our newsletter to receive the latest news. However you participate, the Build Up portal is here to inspire, inform and connect. Build Up, the European portal for energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. Join the community for opportunities and updates.
Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Katrien van der Kuilen and I'm a member of the Build Up editorial team. It's a pleasure for Build Up to host today's webinar and workshop event titled Thermal Communities and Citizen-Led Initiatives for Sustainability in Buildings, brought to you by FEDARENE, Ambiente Italia, Euroheat and Power, and Build Up. This event will delve into the role of the ConnectHeat project in increasing the knowledge level on heating and cooling community energy. Before we begin, we invite and encourage you, the audience, to send us your questions and comments to the speakers throughout the question. To do so, please use the GoToWebinar question function. These questions or comments will then be addressed at the end of the webinar. On the agenda for today's webinar, we have the following 4 sessions scheduled. Riccardo Battisti, Senior Project Manager at Ambiente Italia, will open today's webinar by addressing thermal communities as the elephant in the waiting room. Next, Aurore Dutka, researcher at the University of Trento, will take us in the second session through French good practices. In the third session, Magdalena Beberich, Deputy Institute Director at Solights, will present us with the German case Breitenholz. Isma Zohai, Research Associate for Solar Heating Networks at Solights, will present the fourth and final session, Solights Community Approach for Energy Efficiency in Social Housing in Stuttgart. Before concluding today's event, we will then have some more time at the end for question and answers from you, the public, which will be moderated by us from Build Up. And now, without further hesitation, we will move directly to the first speaker. Riccardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katrien, and thanks, of course, to Build Up for the organization of this webinar. So my name is Riccardo Battisti, and as Katrien was saying, Ambiente Italia is leading the ConnectHeat project, is coordinating it, and my role today is to give a bit of a context, let's say, for these thermal communities, or someone is calling them heating and cooling communities. So there is still some uncertainty even in the name and in the definition. So it's quite important to try to give a bit of a context, let's say. Okay, so the why this discussion about the heating communities, thermal communities? Because you know that, of course, the concept of energy communities was introduced by the recast of the Renewable Energy Directive, And these created, let's say, a series of implementation at national level and of supporting schemes, which, however, are just focusing on electricity. So we saw here a clear barrier that the topic of heating and cooling was completely excluded by the energy communities field, let's say. Uh, and this was the reason we thought about building a project focusing on heat only. And this is something, really, believe me, that it's quite hard to make people understand, because usually when you say something about energy community or more in general about citizen-led initiative, you are generally thinking immediately about electricity or even about only photovoltaic. But there are really several possibilities, and I would say already several examples of heating communities that are operating on the ground and that have been operating for several years. And so it's very important also to stress this point. Okay, ConnectHeat is a live project financed under the Clean Energy Transition called ENERCOM, so energy communities. It will end in September 2025 after 3 years of work. And you see here that it involves 10 partners. 3 of them are the promoters also of today's webinar, so Ambiente, Italia, Euroheat Power, and FEDARENE, which are 2 relevant EU associations promoting, of course, on the one hand, district heating and cooling, on the other hand, let's say, energy planning at local level through their energy agency. And then we have a series of local partners which are implementing our pilot cases. And we will have a series of 3 webinars about the ConnectHeat project, and we will hear from our pilot cases what they are developing. So today, for example, you will hear from Solides about their interesting pilot cases in buildings. So first of all, what do we mean by community energy for heating and cooling? It's not very easy. It's not like in the electricity where you have, for example, some PV plants and you share the electricity and that's all. With heating and cooling, of course, everything is a bit more complicated. Starting from the hardware, let's say, because you need an infrastructure, you don't have an electricity grid already established, so you should build, for example, a district heating grid network. So it's a bit more complicated. So, of course, one condition to have a community energy project in the heating and cooling sector could be the fact that you have a cooperative or other form of shared ownership. This is quite typical, for example, in Denmark, where many of the district heating systems are run by cooperatives. Of course, there could be some form of financial participation by the users, like crowdfunding, for example. There could be some heat prosumers on the network. So, for example, you can imagine an industry which is using the heat from the district heating network, but at the same time, it can give the surplus heat, like waste heat, let's say, to the network. So the concept of prosumers is not only for electricity, but it could be the same also in the heating sector. And of course, there could be also other forms, other lighter forms, I would say, of consumers' involvement and influence on the project. So, for example, kind of a discussion board where the consumers can have a say in which technologies should be used to make the HC network really flexible and sustainable, and so on. But of course, we still have some barriers, some gaps regarding legislation, regarding financing. As I was saying at the beginning, several countries already put in place some incentives for electricity in the energy communities. As far as I know, there is no similar initiative all over Europe, let's say, regarding the thermal part. So, of course, we need a lot of awareness raising. And of course, we need also the right technologies to produce clean heating and cooling for this community project. Okay, so as you see, the concept is quite, I would not say complicated, but it's complex because it involves a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different possible technologies to produce heating and cooling. So it's really something that should involve the whole community, and especially the local stakeholders. Stakeholders should be involved in the development of such community-led projects in the field of heating and cooling. In particular, within the ConnectHeat project, we are aiming at having 7 pilot cases in these 7 countries you read here. And then we are also selecting, this will be done in a very short time, 7 replicators, which will benefit from the lessons learned within our project. So hopefully we will have 7 pilot cases at the end of the project, and also 7 replicators which are, let's say, triggered within the project. Then we have a policy work. So we are developing actually some energy policy roadmap, community energy policy roadmaps in our 7 countries. We are developing also a position paper at a more general level, let's say, and we are also developing a blueprint. The blueprint is meant to be kind of a step-by-step guide for people interested in developing some community energy projects in the field of heating and cooling. And then we are having, let's say, a very strong and wide capacity building program, let's say. And by the way, also this webinar is included in the framework of this training program, because we have a 3-level training program. So we have a, let's say, train the trainers, which we did at the beginning to train our partners. Then we are having local trainings in the 7 countries participating in the project. And then we have these 3 webinars at EU level. You find everything that is available so far on our website, which is connected.ambienteitalia.it. So you find there, for example, the publications where you can analyze the context in our target areas, and especially a summary of the community energy potential, and a summary also of our pilot cases. And again, all the materials which have been produced so far within these training activities, you can find them online. Usually it's both the presentations and also the recording of the training session. So it's really, a good bunch of material, let's say, about heating communities. I just want to show you a couple of examples, but just very quickly, just to make you understand what we are developing. This is, for example, one of our pilot cases in Belgium. It's a small new residential area, not only residential. You see that there is also the possibility of having some industrial waste heat there. And basically the concept is very easy. So we will feed heating to the users starting from the drink water pipe. So we will use a very low temperature heat source, and then through a heat pump, let's say the temperature level of this water will be higher, and then it will be enough to feed the heating demand, let's say, of the users. Okay, this is a very simple scheme of the system, and here you can see also the works which have started to build the system. Another completely different example, and that's why I wanted to show you, is that in Spain. So our partner is from the Canary Island and in Gran Canaria. And of course, in this case, the users are basically the tourist hotels. So in this case, they are aiming at building up a district heating network, a low temperature district heating network, so operated at 40 degrees more or less. You see here also all the technical data. Maybe one interesting point I would like to stress is the fact that most of this energy is for swimming pool heating, and then you have some space heating and cooling, and then some domestic hot water. And the solutions they want to go for is a combination of photovoltaic heat pumps, low temperature district heating, and possibly also some waste heat. So you see completely different solutions in our pilot case, and you will see also one more case, as I was saying before, in one of the next presentations by Solides. Then, just to go to the last topic, I would like to tell you something about the policy paper we are developing, because on this I think it's very interesting to see also what could be the concrete proposals. So, okay, there is a barrier, and heating and cooling is not included enough, let's say, in the topic of energy communities, or more in general of cities and land led initiatives in the field of energy. So what could we do to improve this situation? So we tried to list a series of possible actions that we can do. Of course, first of all, there should be the explicit inclusion of heat supply in the regulation of renewable energy communities. For example, in Italy, all the pieces of legislations which were published recently about renewable energy communities do not even mention the possibility of heating and cooling in the RECs. So for us, this is a very important point also to make people know that there is also this possibility. Then it would be very interesting to have a virtual heat sharing model as you have it in electricity. And maybe also the valuation of a possible incentive on the amount of heat shared. For example, the Italian legislation, once again, is giving an incentive on the amount of electricity shared within a renewable energy community. So is it possible to study a model that should do the same for heat? This could be a very practical proposal. From the point of view of financing and incentives, of course, the main difference is that, as I was saying before, that you have to build an infrastructure, for example, a district heating network, and the infrastructure is inevitably associated with risks. So how to reduce these risks? You can set up a revolving fund, a price guarantee mechanism, or something like that. So this is very important to make investments more secure. There, of course, there could be a public support for infrastructure investments. There could be also an additional incentive, as I was saying before. There is an incentive, for example, for electricity shared within renewable energy communities. Why don't we give an additional incentive if they also provide a heat supply to their members? There could be an indirect incentive on the use of renewables in heating networks. So, for example, waste heat, residual biomass, solar thermal, and other sources. And of course, there could be a promotion, as I was saying at the beginning, of forms of direct financial participation by the users in the community project. So, cooperatives for managing, for owning also the district heating network, crowdfunding, and so on. Then communication and support. This is very important. So if you want to develop a heating community, where do you start from? So that's why, for example, we are also developing this community developers blueprint. Here is very interesting, the example in Denmark. So the Danish District Heating Association, for example, is giving support for free to any developers who is investigating, let's say, the possibility of developing of heating communities. So it's very important that they do not feel alone, let's say, in developing this project. Then, of course, the role of public administration is pivotal, and it should be really promoted and enhanced. So why are public administrations so important? Because, of course, they do spatial planning. Now, you know that with the new energy efficiency directive, they also have the, at least some of them, the largest municipalities have the obligation of developing heating and cooling plants. So it's very important that these community initiatives are embedded within these plants. They, of course, can do territorial animation, so they can involve the local communities, the users, other stakeholders, like, for example, the waste heat providers and so on. And then, again, it's very important that the people know that these heating communities are not something on paper, but we have several examples already of these communities. We will hear from Aurore, for example, in the next presentation. So it's very important that these good practices are collected, analyzed, and that we let people know about that. So if you're interested in this topic, hopefully, just also follow us on our LinkedIn page. So there is a showcase page from Euroheat and Power, which is called ConnectHeat. So you can find it easily on LinkedIn. And of course, please also visit our website to check all of these documents I was showing. Okay, thank you from my side. Hopefully you have some questions. Just take note of them and write it directly in the chat, and I will answer later. And having said that, thanks again for your attention, and I would give the floor directly to Aurore Dudka. Aurore is working at the University of Trento, and she's really doing a very, I would say, deep and good investigations on several community projects, and especially focusing on the French examples. Please, Aurore.
Thank you so much, Ricardo, and thanks for your presentation. So I work at the University of Trento, and but as you can hear, I am French, so it's why I will focus on France today about some good practice, but not only because being also based in Italy, also in Italy there is some interesting case that I could highlight. So first of all, just to just to present you why I am working so on district heating now. As told by Ricardo before, mostly I used to work about renewable energy communities and cooperative, and mostly we used to focus on electricity, and we totally forget about heating system. Now it's growing up. Even in the literature, we heard a lot about thermal energy communities, tech, which become more and more common, but still is largely understudied. And especially, it's a very big shift because in the new renewable district heating, you will shift from passive to active consumer because the source of energy changing. So it's not like passive techno-fix installation. It really needs for people to become more flexible and more engaged in district heating. The problem is in the literature mostly we still adopt mostly let's say technological and economical approach, and which totally forget the importance of sociology in this. And the fact that innovation, so these renewable energy districts are first, okay, technological innovation, but also social innovation. And to make this process work, you need a co-construction between technology and society. So this is why I strongly focus about community-based management. And also what I find is we mostly focus about urban, and we totally forget landscape. And I come from landscape, so maybe I was very interesting. And this is why today I want to present you FEDARENE, which is a French case based in Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, Savoie, and mostly, and which develop, let's say, small renewable district heating, but involving the local population. And let's say that FEDARENE can be seen as is a consulting engineering firm, but so they work not alone. They are strongly anchored in the citizen-led initiative ecosystem in France, working with ENERCOP, Énergie Partagée, which are two, let's say, ENERCOP, it's the biggest energy cooperative in France, and Énergie Partagée, it's a social movement, it's an association, so it's a little complicated, but it's really, voila, if you speak about citizen-led energy in France, it's about these two organizations. And FEDARENE has been, let's say, very intelligent because he went where a private actor don't go. Because in France, you have like three main actors taking more or less 95% of the market share, but they are not interested in small renewable district heating because it's the rentability is too low. So FEDARENE say, okay, we are going to go on this market share and help, like, for example, municipality, small, medium municipality, to make their one renewable district heating. But in this, we are not going to be like a normal consulting engineer firm, because also the founder of FEDARENE is very implicated in Énergie Partagée. So he has, let's say, the double casquette. And so they try to like the principle of risk, promoting the principle of energy democracy, HOC. So there is like the willingness to not be like a private actor, but to work in collaboration with citizens, because contrary to renewable energy community like electricity, photovoltaic, developing a district heating is very complicated. So having this, let's say, this capacity, engineering capacity, was something primordial, and a lot of municipalities don't go because they didn't know how to do. So FEDARENE is really a support in, let's say, the French energy citizen landscape to help this project to emerge. And very interesting also, they choose to collaborate with Énergie Citoyenne, which is a French association, a local actor, and which help also project to develop, but they were generally specialized in electricity. But it was very important in this ecosystem to say we don't separate, we don't ask people to choose to finance because they make crowdfunding across citizens to choose between electricity or heat. It should be the same, voilà, renewable energy, the same electricity and heat. So they try really to combine the both and not to oppose. And so Forest exists like now 7 the first project for the Lucin, c'était 2018. So, and in few times, I already developed 17 projects. So as I told you, based mostly in Savoie and Isère. And this business model, as I told you, it's small district heating. So the redditivity is the return on it is quite low. So the margin are like 4-5%. So they have to be like really strict about following how it goes, because if you have an accident, you know, everything can be very difficult. And now, which is very great, it's because they have 17 projects, so they manage to also to create a new job for people supporting the development of the project and help this forest area to grow. And regarding the funding of this initiative, you have generally 45% from the ADEME. Alors, ADEME, it's the French agency for the energy transition, let's say. So, and then you have between 10 and 15% of equity contribution. So it can come from citizens, for example, crowdfunding, which are not always citizens living in the place where the project is, but for example, can be in Grenoble, a city very near. Voilà. So there is still this idea of locality proximity, but because it's in very small village, it's very hard to gather the saving of people living here because it will be too small. So there is, let's say it's more about department, region, this crowdfunding. And then they manage with a bank loan, because generally the project work well, and especially after 17 projects, the bank trust this Forest ENR. Voilà. And I give you one of the first case. It was Lucinge, so near from the also in the mountain region. So they read a lot about wood, and which is very important. It's the idea is to create also a filière of biomass. So the wood come generally within 30 kilometers radius. So there is also this willingness to have a local impact, and it's very important because the study of energy partagée show, for example, that for one project, €1 you invest in a local project compared to a private market actor, it's €3 which come back to the territory. So this idea to, okay, I invest, but at the end I have also benefit that my territory can benefit from. So it's a very important, for example, with municipality, but also with citizen. And which was also very interesting in this project is the fact that the mayor was not like super ecologist or attention, but it's also very pragmatic to say it's the best solution. It's not, I won't say Ayatollah of ecology, but because it's also very important that this project have also, let's say, business model that works, because to convince people and to replicate and to foster, to diffuse, it's not, I want to have a renewable district in a district because I care about ecology. It's important, of course, but it's also because it works and it could be the best solution. So it's a very good argument. And what was also very interesting, it's the importance they give to exchange. For example, you see on the picture, the exchange with pupils of the school. They go to visit, they go, so very strong interaction, and let's say working about the awareness of citizen from young to big. And a lot of transparency, because when you make a project with Western Air, you enter in the governance, the municipality go in the governance of the project. So they have access, it's like a project society, and the 70 projects are involved in in the same society, but have separated account. So it's also a guarantee that you can trust because you become a shareholder, so you know everything. And what I wanted to present you, it's the last case they did. It's le Bourget du Lac, also mistake. And this, and it's very, very important because it will be the first renewable energy district heating with a direct presence of citizens inside in France. So the project was 4 millions, donc for 4 megawatts, more or less, for 900 people. So again, you see it's bigger than the other present you before, because before it was more municipalities, small municipalities, just involving, for example, public building. But it's the first time also it's become also involving a lot of house and citizen, and we see the process of scaling up after 70, let's say, small project, they arrive to go to bigger, even if it's not still interesting big actors, because they say that if it's not, let's say, 20 gigawatts, they don't go. So, 3 kilometers. I give you some number about the size, but it's quite. It begins to be quite big for citizen, let's say. And of course, in this case, the municipality was green, and already the willingness to implicate directly the citizen, and which was also very important. It was a present of the citizen society Solaire du Lac. Let's say one of the French energy community which already work about, let's say, photovoltaic project, electricity traditional, and so it was a great support because they have already the structure to integrate citizen, and the FEDARENE will come ready to support it to enhance the capacity of the project, because as I told you, it's not easy. Already install photovoltaic panels, it's complicated, but in district heating could be also some challenge to understand, and it's a very big project. It's 4 millions in this case. And how it has been funded, so 3 millions provided by the ADEME, so subvention of France, and also energy saving certificate that have been recuperated to finance part of the project. 1 million too, it's public and citizen shareholders, a thing crowdfunding, for example, for citizen. And one thing I wanted also to show, which is very, very important, it's a French landscape, is the fact that we use also SEMA. It's a society of mixed economy society, and it's a partnership between public actors, which are generally the majority, and private actors, which they are obligated to be the majority, and a minority of private actors. And this theme is very, very important in the French landscape because they can really help to finance. They have a lot of funds, and they can play on leverage effect, and they really invest in renewable energy project. Especially because in France, since 2015, we have a law to encourage and to allow, which encourage public authority to take part to the energy transition, and they are allowed to invest in renewable energy project. So it's very, very important actor in the business plan of numerous energy community, and could be even more in the case of district heating because a lot of funds. And the Énergie Partagée, which is this big French association, a lot of role, which also make this advance in current account for 500,000, because to get subvention, you have to advance already a part of the money. Also, it's a big problem. So Énergie Partagée is very, very important to assume this role. And also they provide to have each year like 500,000 of revenue, and less 4% of margin. So it's not like they have to make money. They want ready to redistribute the benefit and to make it profit to the people. And what is also very important, the light in the process is even the municipality is really likely to participate and to make this project, because I told you it's a green, environmental friendly municipalities. If you have not citizen agree with the project, the district heating don't happen, because you need let's say that citizens accept to be recorded. And so there is a big work about engaging citizens during 1 year, a lot of meeting. And the problem was not they were against, but just they don't know about. And because electricity has always been energy, let's say, has always been invisible, even more in France with the nuclear tradition. And so there is a big work about energy literacy. And also what it can be also see, it was a distrust toward municipality. But what is very interesting, it also energy partagé in this study shows that if you join a renewable energy project and it works, you rise this trust to your municipality. And we have a case very famous in France, in Los Angeles, which shows that it has been very true because, but I have no time to tell you everything, but voilà, it's true. And the question of the cost and the financial motivation was here. Of course, people are afraid to pay too much. And the energy crisis, let's say, has been an advantage because it shows you that to depend too early on gas and could be very dangerous. And one argument which was also very important is the fact that the local resource and reinvesting in the community. So people really, let's say, adhere to this principle. Moreover, there's discussion, and it's very interesting because about creating, for example, in France, we have a lot of solidarity fund emerging now. And so it's just discussion. I don't know if it will happen, but at least people speak about, which is not always the case, but to know what I target, because in this, it's going to have social housing, student accommodation. And if it's not the case, to give a part of the profit to help these people. And also with the margin that can be done, what can be done to empower the community and also lead other projects. So strong attention to democracy and to justice in this project. So voilà, citizen energy value, like we can see in RESCOP. So now the model of forest in air, like a special vehicle purpose, sorry for the horrible accent, but you understand, voilà. Like to replicate this project is currently quite working because already 10 projects as forest in air are trying to emerge across France. And they work a lot with ADEME and Energy Partagée, and ADEME is very important because it's a, let's say, institution, so it's a legitimization that this model could work and is interesting to go on. And the philosophy is really to help, to support each other. It's not competitive at all. I make the interview with people, it's like, fantastic people, give you, and voilà, they like helping each other and they are for making energy more renewable and to foster energy transition. The problem, because Ricardo was speaking about legislation before, it's maybe the fact that it's because small municipality and they face the same obligations that big municipalities, so it will be very an overburden of tasks, and they already something to do in the legislation, maybe to adapt to the size of district heating. And also other simplification, because network stability, it's over 1 year, 20 years, not 5. So, a lot of stuff still to fix about legislative. And very quickly, because also in Italy, you have very good case in Alto Adige. So it's, let's say, in the north of Italy at the border with Austria. And which exists already for many, many years, so it's not new. For example, Dobbiaco, one of the most competitive prize. So also, let's say, from like a lot, it's a cooperative organization, and so the best benefit and the best way to fight against poverty is to propose this prize to people, and the same price for over 25 years. And Dobbiaco was the first, but also a strong replication to this model, because now it's like 70 municipalities implicated in the district heating with the community-based management. And also IWERC, another cooperative, 45% of saving on the energy component. Also here a big focus on democratic governance, and also on the territory. I was very impressed when I interviewed this guy because of the pressure, sorry, and but because they make like piste cyclable, bike path and underground power line. So it was really missing a part of the benefits to make this territory better. And of course, you have a social acceptance because and also a strong capacity of innovation. Working on flexibility, I was very impressed already what they have to do. So because you have the impression that sometimes cooperatives, the third sector are already, low tech, but no, there are really a good potential of innovation also on technology side. So thank you a lot for your attention. I hope my French was not so bad in English. And to conclude, just I want to say, if we speak about social engagement, about district heating. If you are fair with your citizens, you implique them, you explain. There is no reason not that renewable district heating can work. But you need, let's say, intermediaries like FEDARENE to help this project to work better. So thank you very much, and I will let the floor to the next speaker. Thank you again.
Thank you, Aurore, for this impressive examples from France and Italy. I will now, so my name is Magdalena Berberich. I will present a German example of a thermal community case, Breitenholz. And I am from Solitas, from a research institute in Stuttgart here in Germany. And we do research and advice in solar district heating, in thermal energy storages, in shallow geothermal. And our goal is always in our projects to have minimized emissions with the heat supply. So we are a research institute, and I am presenting this case here on behalf of Günther Gammerdinger. He's a board member from Bürgerenergie Tübingen, so from a cooperative here in the south of Stuttgart, in the next city, Tübingen. And we, as the ConnectHeat project team, visited this plant in April this year, and it was not finished yet at this moment. So you see here a picture of Breitenholz and of the plant, of the solar district heating plant, with the heat storage here, a buffer tank, and the solar thermal plant. And here in the front, there is another area of solar thermal collectors. And so Günther Gammerdinger, he presented to us this project and the concept of the cooperative, but he cannot do it in English. So I will present it now, and I have the allowance from him to use these slides. How was it started, the project? The Bürgerenergie, so the cooperative of the city of Tübingen, they were established in 2009 already, and they had the goal to implement climate protective projects in the region of Tübingen. And they do some PV plants and participated in PV plants, also participated in wind energy. So the starting of the cooperative was more in the electricity sector and in projects with renewable electricity. And then they thought, okay, what can we do now? What can we do else to support the energy transition in Germany and in the region? And so they thought about do some heat projects. And so they founded the bioenergy Breitenholz. It's a small village, and with the goal to do district heating there, because they knew it's a village where a lot of older houses are, and a lot of houses with older heat supply plants. So it was a good opportunity in 2018 to think about a small district heating network there. And they founded the bioenergy cooperative and limited partnership. That means the cooperative of Tübingen holds a part of this new founded cooperative, and the other part is held from the local people. So that means the KG, it's a limited partnership. Everyone who wants in the village can hold a part of this partnership, but it's like the mother company is the cooperative of Tübingen, because it was not it is a too small project to build up an own cooperative, so they did this this scheme here. What is the success factors of this model of citizen participation in Breitenholz? The identification is very very important for this project. So here, like I explained already, the model is to have the citizen participation via the cooperative and the limited partnership. There are also other models, but here it's like this. The acceptance is very important. So the citizens are the heat customers in the end, but they are also part of the company or of the cooperative. So they are heat customers and entrepreneurs. The local project team, they started the project from the cooperative, but they very soon they see that it's very important to have a local team to know the people in the village, to know what is the mood there, the atmosphere, what do they think about the project, and to develop it really together with the people in the village. And so they built up a support team in the village and a local project team. Also, the daily service is very important. So they have now 2 persons from the village who are looking after the plant, who make like the daily care to see is there any failure, or is there something to do or to report, or the maintenance company needs to come or something like that. And with this kind of citizen partnership, it's possible to have the tendering more freely. So that's also that's also part of the success of this model, that they can really choose local companies for the installations, and it's not necessary like in a public project, for example, that they make the tendering in a certain in a certain range. So like do the tendering like European wide or nationwide. So here they could choose local companies. Nevertheless, of course, it's a lot of convincing work which is necessary in the village to have enough people who want to participate in the project and who want to be customers of the new district heating plant. So they did like round tables regularly in the local restaurant to speak about the project, to inform the people. They they walked from door to door to ask people if they want to have the contract, if they want to be customers and participate in the project and in the district heating. And so they had a lot of things to do to inform the people and also to convince them to be part of the project. The basic concept now is, yes, they started the initiative in 2018. The idea was to have a 100% renewable heat supply in the village or in the district heating. and with one part of solar thermal, 35%, so a little bit more than, or a good part more than the summer heat supply is done by solar thermal, and the rest is done by wood chip boilers. The idea was to have regional wood chips, of course, to be sustainable here, but they are also aware that it's a transition technology. So they, in 2018, it was okay to have wood chip boilers, but now they know if the wood chip boilers get older, they will. It's necessary to think about the next solution to have not so much wood chips. But in our region here, south of Stuttgart, there's a lot of woods and forest, and it's the case that from now it's there are a lot of trees which are damaged or which need to be to take out from the forest. So there is still enough wood to use for wood chip boilers, for example. There's a buffer storage for solar thermal and also for the efficient operation of the wood chip boilers. And of course, it's very important to have the security of the heat supply through redundancy. So they have 3 wood chip boilers, and 2 are in operation if there's a lot of heat demand, and 1 is not in operation, just to secure the heat supply in case one of the wood chip boilers is defect. And the sustainability with the regional companies was important for them. From the scheme, how it looks like in the village, we have here the heating central and 2 collector fields with solar thermal collectors. And the area was is not in the property of the cooperative, but it's in the property from the church. So they have the leasehold property. The church gives the area to the cooperative for 99 years, and they pay the yearly fee for it, like a rent. So now here's the technical data. They have about 250 buildings in Breitenholz, and 143 are heat customers. And it was to plan the project, to plan the heating central and the solar thermal and the wood chip boilers, it was important to have a certain amount of heat customers under contract. So they started with the threshold of 50% of the heat customers, which should be finally in the connected to the district heating, so that they could start the project and plan it. The heat demand is 2.2 gigawatt hours per year, and the heat supply is 2.7 gigawatt hours per year. I said already 3 wood chip boilers with 400 kilowatts each, and 2,200 square meters of solar thermal, 1,000 cubic meter of buffer storage is a steel tank with water inside. They have 4,800 meter of heating network in the street, which was also built up newly, and they save 600 tons of CO2 per year, which is the amount of oil they needed before to heat up the single houses with oil boilers. There is no gas network in this village, so that's why it was the most of the heat demand was supplied by oil before. The system was completed now in September 2024, and now it's completely in operation and will be inaugurated in October officially. For the financing, there were total costs of 7.8 million euros, and they financed it with equity capital from 15 to 20%. So it was 1.3 million euros equity capital, and there was most of it from the cooperative. So from the cooperative of Tübingen, it's 1.1 million euros, and the smaller part, 0.2 million euros, were given from the limited partners in Breitenholz. So from the people who signed the contract and wanted to be connected to the district heating, they they gave these 0.2 million euros to be part of the project. 43% of subsidies were acquired. It's a national subsidy program, Wärmenetze 4.0. It's not longer in place now, but to that time it was the best option for subsidies. And 40% of the was done with bank loan, 3 million euros. A lot of work was also to convince the bank from the project, and they, of course, had detailed looks on the operator, the people involved, the overall concept, the feasibility, and the investment plan. But in the cooperative and also Günther Gammerdinger, they are partly from the financial side, so they could handle this very well. Recommendations from the Energy Transition Village Breitenholz. So now in the end of the project, they know what could be done better maybe for the next time. The corporate form with citizen participation was very good. They are still very convinced from this model of participation. The project team from the beginning would be very much recommended to have the local decisions and to have the local people involved. To install a project manager from the beginning who has the overview of the project. The communication with the people is very important and should be started in the beginning and should be throughout the project very densely. To use or to have regional companies involved is also a recommendation. And the price model for the customers, they choose to have the connection fee. So for the connection of the house to the district heating network, they decided to have it included in the heat price in the end. And now they are more convinced that it's better to have a one-time connection fee and that the heat price is then a little bit lower, so that the people pay once to get connected and then have a lower heat price. It was from the discussions with the people, they felt later that this would be the better model. The outlook is they have this cooperation with the utilities of Tübingen, so the cooperative of Tübingen has the cooperation with the utilities, and here they have the opportunity to be part of further energy transition projects, and now they received just the participation in another solar thermal plant from the utilities, which will be installed in Tübingen. And so they can now search for new members for their cooperative and involve them in the project. And the utilities on the other side can organize the citizen participation via the cooperative. So that's a good win-win situation, and it's a very good model that the cooperative can work together with the utilities. So that's it for now. You see here again how it looks like now with the whole system in operation, and hopefully they have some sunny days now in autumn and get some heat from the sun. Thank you, and if you have questions, I will be happy to answer them later. And now we have my colleague Isma Sohail, who will present our project case here in Stuttgart. So please, Isma, you can start.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Isma. I'm a research scientific employee from the Research Institute Solites, and I'm going to present to you our pilot case in Stuttgart, Germany, as a part of ConnectHeat project. But first of all, I want to introduce you to the SWSG. The SWSG is a housing association, and the letters stand for Stuttgart Housing and Urban Development Corporation. It makes more sense in German. And yeah, so the SWSG is in Stuttgart. Stuttgart is the capital of Baden-Württemberg, and Baden-Württemberg is a part of Germany in the south. And yeah, as I said, Stuttgart is the capital city, and inside of the city there lives more than 600,000 people. And the SWSG, the Housing Association, is a subsidiary company of the city government, and they say about themselves they provide livable and affordable housing for a broad section of people who lives inside of Stuttgart. And they have a market share of 6%, what means they own more than 15% of the price-linked apartments in Stuttgart, which is quite a lot, and manage approximately 19,200 residential units. And of course, in Germany, we do have our climate goals. We want to become climate neutral by the year 2045. And Baden-Württemberg, we are more optimistic or more strict. And when it comes to the SWSG, they want to enable climate neutrality in their buildings by 2035. And for this reason, they set up a climate strategy with 4 pillars. And one of the pillar is user orientation. And that's also the focus of our pilot case. We want to build a community approach for energy efficiency and social housing. So yes, let's have a look on the starting situation. The SWSG, just like other housing associations, did a lot of energy modernization in their buildings, but they realized on a certain point that they did not have a big effect anymore. As you can see on the graph on the right-hand side here, on the y-axis, you can see the energy consumption of households for space heating. On the x-axis, you can see over the years. And as you can see, due to the energy modernization, they could decrease their consumption a lot. But up to 2010, they realized there is a stagnation despite of extensive investments in energy modernization, and they experienced a rebound effect. And there lies a big potential of user behavior, because of course it depends on how do we use our engine or how do we use our tools. because they can be most efficient, but if you use them in a wrong way because we do not know it better, we can act so efficient as we want to. Another topic is the energy poverty in Germany. Up to 6.6% of households cannot afford to heat their homes efficiently. And also another point is that low-income households have less possibilities to participate in energy communities and to be active in the heat transition. And one of the reasons is that most of the community energy projects require a starting investment from the members, and it's quite difficult if you do have low income or you do not have the motivation to invest more money if you don't have enough. So let's have a closer look of our energy community we want to build. Well, our pilot case focus on the tenants of institutional landlords and social housing, especially on the tenants of the SWSG, the Housing Association. To just summarize, who are the SWSG? As I mentioned before, they are a subsidiary of the city government of Stuttgart, and they owns more than 50% of the price-linked apartments of Stuttgart. And who are the tenants of the SWSG? They have diverse social and cultural backgrounds. Just as I mentioned before, the SWSG provide livable and affordable living for broad sections, and the tenants are, on the one hand, have diverse social and cultural backgrounds, and on the other hand, there are also low-income households. And here we come to two key challenges or key questions. The one question is how to involve and reach to these kind of people who are most disadvantaged due to language or cultural, financial, social barriers. And the other question is how to involve, of course, especially the low-income households, because in Germany it's the way that if you cannot afford a living, the social office will help you out. So they will pay for your rent and also pay for your heating costs. And of course, these people don't really have financial incentives to reduce their energy consumption, as it's already paid for. So how can we reach them and how can we involve them? Yes, and before I go more into detail, I want to show you the organization of our pilot case in Stuttgart. The organization is quite same than all the other pilot cases. We set up a stakeholder advisory group, the SAG, who is a supervision for us, and with them we can also exchange information and ideas. And in our case, the SAG group consists of institutional landlords, super local energy efficiency experts, and the environmental office of the city of Stuttgart, that are really important stakeholders that can tell you a lot about their experiences in this sector. And another group we're gonna set up is the Community Energy Board, who is important for the implementation of our community, of our heating community or energy community. And this group will consist of the SWSG and the representatives of the tenants and also of the property manager of the buildings. And our energy community we want to build is parted in two sections. The one is we want to build a building community, and the other is we want to set up an energy efficiency network. So what's the difference? The one is a community inside of the building, and the other is a network that consists on the one hand of the representative of each building community and all the other tenants of the SWSG. And for a better understanding, I want to explain to you that inside of our pilot case, we started a co-finance project that is funded by the city of Stuttgart. It's a community building project with the name Smart Heating Pays Off. That's the English title for it, together with the SWSG, to finance the implementation of our pilot case. So we set a goal that we want to reduce the heat consumption in the SWSG buildings that we selected by a certain amount. So the total savings are calculated for each building community, and the incentives we are going to make are set up for each building community. And yeah, inside the buildings we selected, we want to install heat meters to measure the whole heat consumption of the building. And then the idea is to show this heat consumption on a daily basis on a screen in the hallway. So you can visualize the heat consumption of the building as a incentive for the people who live inside the building, that they can set up a community, and yeah, that they can see how much of consumption they have in their own building, and also can compare it to reference values, so average heat consumption, or even to other building communities. It's still in the making. Yes, but I will go into more detail later in the slides. Yeah, and on the other hand, the energy efficiency network, just as I mentioned, consists of the member of this building community. So we want to have one representative from each building community, and also other tenants of the SWSG. And the goal is that they work together to achieve a jointly defined energy saving target, and also to discuss and exchange experience and ideas to reduce their energy consumption. Yeah, so the main goal of our energy community in Stuttgart is to tackle the energy poverty through this energy community. So everyone can participate, and it doesn't matter how much money you earn. You can engage yourself, so there's no investment needed from the tenants. And how do we want to achieve it? Through innovative financial and non-financial incentives for user behavior. That could be, for example, when it comes to financial incentives, um, like smart thermostats that can be installed in the flats, or even to collaborate with companies that also stand for energy efficiency to have a sponsoring. And when it comes to non-financial incentives, that could be, for example, the concept of the energy efficiency network we want to set up, and also what I described before, the daily visualization of the heating consumption inside your own building. So you have a feeling for it and can see it, and it should motivate you because you're working for a jointly defined goal. Yeah, and how will this activity looks exactly? Well, as you can see in the circle, um, the tenants should work together towards a jointly defined goal, in this case, to reduce their heat consumption. And then the money they save, if they reduce the water and the domestic hot water in their homes and heating consumption, um, they can use the saved money can be reused for energy efficiency measures. So it will be a circle, even though the people in the social housing who do not save money directly because they don't pay for it, because the social office is paying for them, still the costs that are saved will be good for them because they can reuse into measures that affects the building again they're living. Yeah, and enough from the theoretical part. Let's come to the practical. What is the actual what is the status of our pilot case by now? We have ongoing meetings with the SWSG, in which we implement the measures and communicate with them and select buildings. And the outcome by now is that we select possible buildings from the SWSG and also did a data analysis and inspect the pilot buildings as well to have a look, to have a feeling about the buildings. And how can we engage the people who live inside of the buildings? We come to the conclusion that communication with the tenants is crucial on a direct way, and we can get direct contact through the property manager. But we also have to consider there might be a language barrier because the people who live there have different cultural backgrounds. And maybe it could be that their German isn't that good, or they cannot understand what we want to teach them. So that is also a key challenge we have to take into account. So our first building community we want to set up through a already existing online platform called nebenan.de. And nebenan means next door. It's a platform uh, on the internet for the neighborhood. So people can register there and spread, or share events or activities they're doing. Maybe they're doing some sports and looking for someone who wants to join, or there is a cultural event going on and you want to invite people, or all this different stuff what you want to inform your neighborhood. They can use this platform, and it's quite a popular platform, and we want to use this already existing online service, because you can also register as a non-profit organization to promote events. For our example, the building community. So everyone who is interested can join. That's not only the people inside of the buildings. Maybe it could be people all around the neighborhood as well. And we also want to promote it in the buildings as well for the people who don't know about this platform. Yeah. And our first energy efficiency network meeting, we are planning to do it before winter. And besides of all these activities we're doing by now, we also have bilateral exchanges with the social office of Stuttgart that can give us a lot of advice, and with them we can exchange our ideas to get a feeling about the people who are living in social housing. We have also exchanges with cooperation associations and other projects, and also the local trainings that were mentioned in the first presentation. So let's have a closer look to our co-finance project. Smart heating pays off. So you can say it's a project inside a project for the financing of the implementation. And to understand it better, I want to show you what we already did and what the next steps are inside of the project. So the first thing we did was to get all the data analysis from the SWSG about the buildings. So we could get an overall picture of the building stock. And after that, we selected 12 buildings from it. And we defined criteria for the selection of the building. For example, how good is the databases we can use? And that's where are we now? So the next step is to implement the measures, or better to say, to introduce the measures to the tenants so they know what is coming. And the first step will be to have an information event with the tenants in the neighborhood. So we have a direct contact, or we go door by door. We have to see how popular the information event will be, so they have a face with this project and maybe engage more, hopefully. And the next steps are also to install heat meters in their heating system of the building to measure the whole consumption. And after that, or bilateral, we want to install screens in the hallway, in the entrance of the buildings. So people first have the information event, so they get to know with the project. Then they see the screens in the hallways when they come home in a later phase, and can be up to date about the heat consumption of the whole buildings, and get more motivate to act more energy conscious. And also, we have a continued dialogue with the social welfare office. Um, yes. Yeah. So that's it by now. And the further next steps are that our next SAC meeting, so with the stakeholder advisory group, is in spring 2025, where we will tell them about our process. We will have further exchange with the social office, and the first engagement activities to activate the tenants are starting until the end of 2024. And the activities take place within the co-financing project Smart Heating Pays Off, that is funded by the city of Stuttgart. Okay, I'm now at the end of my presentation. Thanks for the attention, and I'm looking forward for any questions in the Q&A sessions. Thank you.
A big thank you to the speakers and the audience. You have been, for the audience, you have been very cautious to already provide us with some questions in the question function of the GoToWebinar. May I ask you to, if you have additional questions, to keep adding them. I will now start going through them, and I hope our speakers are ready to help us with their replies. So let's start with the first question we received. And I think this is a question that followed during the presentation of Ricardo. Would you consider a multi-apartment building that shares a solar thermal installation or heat pump and distributes heat to individual units as a community, or does it only qualify as a community if the building is connected to a district heating system? This was a question that we received from Andrea Gabaldon.
Yes, thank you. That of course, it's a very interesting point and case, let's say. I must answer, let's say, in a formal way, saying that from my point of view, of course, there is no need, at least at this stage, for a precise definition of community, let's say. The examples we collected and we know are kind of a combination between these 2 points. That means that, for example, we know about some plants where you have a solar thermal system on top of a building, and then the heat is both sent to the users when they need it, or the surplus heat is conveyed to a district heating network, so which in this case is is present, let's say. I would say so that it's not, I cannot exclude, let's say, that it's a community if they share, because I mean, if I do a comparison with electricity, at least in Italy, we have this kind of distinction between the energy community and the self-consumption. And usually the self-consumption scheme, which is anyway a way of sharing energy, is limited to the same building. So from this point of view, I see it more as a self-consumption of heat, let's put it like that. But for me, the very important point regarding the community aspect is really the involvement of people. So if the people somehow are taking part in the project, which could be, once again, going back to my first definition. So if they were involved in the project development, for example, by choosing the technical solution, or if they are involved somehow in some reward mechanisms, like the ones Isma was just showing in her presentation, or if they are even participating financially to the ownership of the system and so on. So for me, the community aspects, also thinking about the points highlighted by Aurore in her presentation, is more a question of really people involvement and engagement, rather really on the boundaries of the system. So yes, from my point of view, it could be a community even if it's limited to just one building and not necessarily linked to a district heating network.
All right. Thank you for your reply, Ricardo. We received from Maria two questions which are quite well linked, and I think they are for Magdalena and Isma. Has the village of Brighton Halls or have Stuttgart, are they participating in the Covenant of Mayors?
Here I must say that I'm not informed if they participate in this round of the Covenant of Mayors. I cannot say that, sorry.
No worries, it's something we can also check afterwards and get back to Maria at a later point. And from your point of view for Stuttgart, Isma?
It's the same. I can't say you about this by now.
All right, so this is a question. Yeah, this is a question that goes maybe a little bit beyond the topic of the presentation today, but still, since it was raised, I wanted to address it. And we can come back to you, Maria, afterwards, if you wish, with some more information on that. Then we received a question from Eva, Dr. Eva Schwab, who wanted to thank you for the presentations and your commitment to the clean heating and cooling transition. Dr. Eva Schwab is Energy Poverty Policy Assistant with FEANSA, a European NGO working with homeless service providers. And she's wondering whether you have any examples or ideas on how to include low-income households into the model of thermal communities, as many of energy-poor households live in the worst-performing buildings that do not fulfill the energy efficiency requirements for heat pumps to work at an efficient rate. I think, Isma, you already addressed to some extent low-income households or energy poverty. So feel free to elaborate maybe further on this, and if any of the other speakers wish to contribute as well, I think after Isma would be great.
Yeah, that's all, of course, a big challenge. In our pilot case in Stuttgart, yeah, so as I said before, the SWSG, the housing association we're working with, is a subsidiary from the government of City Stuttgart. So they own social housing, and the people who live inside. Our idea is, before we can address them, we have to have a look what kind of people are they, and what a background they have and how sensitive they are. So the next steps to involve them in the community is to first to raise awareness. Why is it important to act energy conscious? And yeah, we want to communicate that you can also that it's good for you because you increase your living comfort with it. And the other thing is that was the idea with the screens inside of the hallway. Um, we want to set up a playful incentive systems that should raise the tenants' awareness of their heat consumption. And in the case, because we will set up a community inside the building, we hope from it that they will feel more engaged to participate of it. But yeah, of course, first of all, we have to have a look what kind of people they are and how they want to be informed, how they can be the most involved inside the community. That is a really big challenge. So
If I can, I
and
have
I
also.
just want to add to it that we're still in the making of the ideas. Therefore, I couldn't give you a clear answer. You can do this or that, so you can involve them the best. But I think the best way is to gather a lot of information of the people, and of course, I can understand if they are living in a section and don't talk about this energy topic a lot and might feel left out. So that's the key challenge. We want to get to feel them involved, that they are important, and so they would raise their awareness.
Aurore, I had the impression you also wanted to contribute.
Yes, as you said, for vulnerable populations, it could be very hard. In a survey I did about more or less 5,000 people, members of energy community. If you look, for example, to poor women, there are only the 2%. So it's a big issue, as you said. But in France, not only in France, for example, RESCOP and especially the project community Energy for Energy Solidarity. They laid a few times ago. It was very interesting to highlight the role that can play Solidarity Fund. And as an example, I have the one of ENERCOP. So ENERCOP is this big French cooperative which managed to gather more or less 400,000 euros thanks to micro donation and everything. And it was very interesting because the aim of INERCOP with this fund, this Solidarity Fund, is to empower people. And they work a lot with local association about energy retrofitting and help people to renovate their house. And in the case of the Bourget du Lac, I presented just before, you have also decided to go to a Solidarity Fund. And maybe it could be a bridge between, energy community and energy retrofitting, and already RESCOP is working on. So it's not only about energy community, because the main cause of poverty, it's of course the source of energy, but also the quality of housing. So more and more energy community are trying to work on this. And well, I want to speak too much about it because we have already very good practice about Cabestan in France, this artisan cooperative which make like the coffee, suspended coffee. They make travaux suspendus. So with this fund of solidarity, they go to help people to remake their house. And so I think, voilà, you can find a very innovative practice looking to this solidarity fund.
Thank you for your replies, ladies. Eva also had an additional question. She wrote to us that currently heating and cooling plants are not developed for smaller municipalities. However, the most polluting heating methods, solid fuels such as firewood, but also waste, are prevalent in rural areas, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe. Do you have any proposals on how to make sure that these households will also be included into the clean heat transition and will be able to benefit from the thermal community models?
Is it for me, the question, or is it in general?
I think it's a general question, so whoever of you four feels available to answer this one is welcome to.
So I would leave the floor to Ricardo.
Yeah, maybe just just a comment. Of course, that's a very good question. So I don't have a clear and definitive answer for that. I think that the first, as usual in European legislation, the first step was to try to start from the largest cities where you have, simply more skill, more expertise, and more possibilities of implementing a heating and cooling plants. So I think that the rationale behind that is that maybe smaller municipalities, for smaller municipalities would be too expensive, let's say, to set up a heating and cooling plants. On the other hand, I think that the idea is that starting from these larger municipalities, these could create also the right momentum also to involve in this activity also the smaller municipalities. So I can imagine, as happened in many other topics like the sustainable energy and climate action plans at local level, there could be then some, for example, regional funding supporting the smaller municipalities and encouraging them to have their local plans. On these, for example, we are just starting. It will start in 1 week. A new live project which is called Plan for Cold, because let's say it has a special focus on cold, but actually it will be about heating and cooling plants. And among the other activities, we also aim at developing some guidelines to support also the smaller. We will have only large municipalities in the consortium, let's say, but we will support also smaller municipalities by developing, for example, general guidelines. So I think it's just a process and it's just a question of time, but for sure, smaller municipalities need some kind of support through these guidelines, through this funding mechanism or whatever, but they should be helped in developing these plans.
I have a next question either for Ricardo or Magdalena. Do you think in your country that we would imagine a hybrid system in which you can, for example, power heat pumps with photovoltaic installations, which can make that energy will become like free? Is there any legislative restriction for this?
I think it depends on the region or on the country where you are. But for Germany, there's no, not so far that I know that there are restrictions. So it's a possibility to use power to heat or to use heat pumps. In general, if we do feasibility studies for district heating, we use or we first see which regional resources are available. Is there, for example, industrial waste heat? Is there the possibility to use heat from the ambient, so like ambient air with heat pumps, or which is every time possible, but is there a better source for the heat pump, like, for example, a river or a lake, or wastewater treatment, something like that? So we take into account all resources which are available at this place, and then it's a combination of different technologies and different sources, which in the end is most probably the best variant. So we consider different versions of combinations, and then in the end it's possible to see which version is the best and which is feasible.
I just want maybe to briefly add, just to confirm, I think Magdalena's view. So also from my point of view, there are no restrictions to the solutions you were mentioning, but the point really one of the key points of this community approach is also that you want to exploit as much as possible the richness, let's say, of the local territories, and also that you are able to build a flexible system. So the flexible system is a value in itself because it means that it can, let's say, protect the users, the consumers, giving them a price stability independently of the framework conditions that can of course change. So if you rely, for example, on electricity only for the heating and the electricity price is rising up, not depending on your will, let's say, and then you of course are in trouble. So it's very important that this concept of also diversification and of flexibility is part of this, in general, in part of any energy system, but of course, even more if you directly involve the consumers in your project.
That are both clear answers. Thank you. We go to the next question, which comes from Andrea. Andrea Gabaldon again. The model seems to function similarly to an ESCO, where you continue to pay the same amount for the bill and the cost savings are reinvested in the community. This approach works well for low-income households that don't pay their bills, but how does it affect households or property owners who do pay their bills? I hope that also low-income households are able to pay their bills. Are they willing to continue paying the same amount even after reducing their energy consumption? I'm not sure for who this question is, so I would say whoever is able to, maybe Isma. Yeah.
I guess it's for the Stuttgart case, yes.
I understand.
Isma?
Sorry. Yeah. If I understand it the right way, you're asking what's the difference from people with low income if they save energy and people who pay their energy costs and save energy. So in Germany, it's the way you pay for your rent. We call it cold rent. I don't know if it's the English word as well. And there's a warm heat, yeah, warm rent. We call it this way. So on the one hand, you pay only for your flat, and the other hand, you have like side costs. And the side costs include electricity and heating and internet and whatever it also includes with the living. So for the people who do not have low income, who have average income, who can afford their heating costs, for them, of course, it's much more incentive to save energy because they will see it in their bills. If they if they reduce their energy consumption or the heating consumption, especially, they can see it in the end of the year if they get a payback from the side cost they always paying every month. And for the people with low income who are depend on the social office who pays for them their heating costs, um, they won't see any effect if they reduce their heat consumption or their energy consumption, like electricity or whatever, because it's already paid by the social office. So they are less motivated to reduce their energy. And um, yeah, of course, it's for the social office more interest to reduce this heat consumption because they are paying for it. So the idea behind was that e- exactly for this kind of people, we want to have kind of incentives that they reduce their energy consumption. Yeah. And for the people who pay for their heat, they will see it in their bills anyway. We had this problem or we had this topic last winter as well, or you see the gas prices are rising. A lot of the heat are still comes from gas supply, and it becomes more expensive. So people who are pay with their own money for it, they have a motivation to reduce it. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope I answer your question.
For me, at least, the answer was clear. I hope for our audience as well. As we are running out of time, we won't be able to address all the questions, but let's make sure that we go through them after the webinar and see if we are able to address them afterwards directly to the audience. So many thanks. I'm going to switch here for a second again. All right. I want to thank you all speakers and the audience for attending today's webinar. As a reminder that you will be able to find the recording of today's session on the BuildUp portal and on our YouTube channel in the coming days. BuildUp has already several new webinars ready in the pipeline for the upcoming months. So keep an eye on the BuildUp calendar of events and our social media for updates on these. Be sure to also register on the BuildUp website to be able to share and disseminate your own content on the BuildUp platform, and follow us on social media for updates. We wish you all a very pleasant end to your week. Thank you so much and goodbye.